talk about Hviii brand. Let's talk about how that got started, where it's at, how it built up, and what I did to grow a business. It seems to be kind of a question I continually get. Give some advice for those of you wanting to start a business, what I've done, and I'll explain what's got us here. So working for myself is something I've always wanted to do. And since I opened the bike shop back in 2005, when I graduated from college, that's kind of been what I wanted to do. And when that failed, I kind of thought, fuck that. That's not what I want to do. And then a couple jobs later, and finally into the job that I recently was let go from, that urge and that drive has slowly come back. Now that urge and that drive isn't just to be my own boss. That urge and that drive really came from this me needing a creative outlet, me needing something to drive that kind of force. I like that feeling. I like being able to create. And so that YouTube has kind of been able to do that, and me being able to do, writing the books that I've written also aided in that. So that was kind of the first thing, was as I got into the Highland Games in 2008, had a pretty good year and won amateur world championship and got an invite into the professional world championships for 2011. Went in and took second place at my first professional contest, which was a world championship. After that, I basically followed the exact same program I did the year before, and documented all of it and wrote it down and gave my thoughts and everything, and that is where the book Training Lab came from. That is the first one, and that is the one that got me all the way through my 2012 season and to winning my first world title. I won that game in Canada. It was really, really cool experience. Part of that book that I wrote in 2012 was the Hviii. The Hviii was kind of something finally explained, and something that has meant something to me, and my brother and I have talked about for years. Just this idea of looking at athletes, and it's been expounded upon a lot since then, but the general message is the same, is that, when I see someone who's an incredible athlete and they've just got it, they look like they work their ass off, it's, man, that guy hates himself more than I do. That guy's willing to suffer more than I am. And it's stuff you do to yourself, because none of us need this for our survival. And a few years down the road, after the book has been published, this is 2014, the end of that season, I've won another world championship in Scotland. And finally I'm asked, I should do some Hviii shirts. And I've always felt weird about it. Like, I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do, because the books were selling, this is side money, and I'm not really thinking about it, I've got a job. And finally, I was approached by a guy who handles my warehousing and handles all my fulfillment. He brought it up, he's like, look, why don't you do it like this? Let's come up with a design, and let's do a pre-order. Oh, okay, well, then I don't have any skin in the game, and if it sells, it sells, we make a few bucks, and if not, that's cool too. So what we did from that moment there was I got some design work done by a buddy of mine, Dan Marino, not the football player, but an equally attractive man. Came up with our original design, that Brew Label shirt. And from there, I think we sold like 40 of those in a week worth of pre-order, or 2 weeks or something like that. And so everything that we took that was profit, we rolled into getting more stock and seeing how long those shirts took to sold. And so this continued until, hell, we got another design, and then another design, and more shirts, and then it kind of continued to grow. It's been really neat to watch it grow and continue with that. Now, a big part of it growing, right, is that I have 2 world titles under my belt as an athlete in a sport, so I was well known that way. The other is very active on social media. The other is I spent a lot of years during my strongman and powerlifting years traveling and networking and meeting a lot of awesome people before really the social media thing took off. So that's how I know guys like Mark Bell and Jim Wendler. This network and these people that I know are a big part of the success of my brand. Me not being known doesn't help it grow, doesn't help give any credibility to what I've got going on. So simply said, good designs and quality product aren't enough to have a business. But it's just continued to do that, and I've fit a weird niche. I fit a niche where I've traveled a lot, and I've done powerlifting, I've done weightlifting, I've done strongman, I've done some CrossFit, and Highland Games as well, which is my main focus. And then as a collegiate thrower, I kind of have that background. So a little jack of all trades, but really master of none, right? Other than I'm good at the Highland Games. And the brands just continue to grow. Myself and my partner Mike Beach, who's been on board since day one and then was made a partner, sometime down the road after that. And the way I felt about that is I needed help on some of the business side of things and some of the tech side of stuff. And I would much rather have someone on board who's a part owner, who's invested in this the way I am, than at some point they'll get tired of it. And I truly believe that that's a big success in why we are where we are. there's kind of your history of how we've gotten and continued to grow. And it's through networking, it is through strong social media game, it's through daily videos on YouTube. It's all of those things, plus me being able to get out and collaborate with other people who have much bigger audiences than I do. For me, another giant step of this was being smart enough that while I had the real job, this may have actually saved me. Because while I had the real job, I was smart enough to realize that I didn't have the time to handle managing the inventory and shipping stuff out and boxing things up every day. And I mean, at that time we were talking, if we were getting 1 order a day, that was pretty cool. And now we're at a point where we're doing, 30 orders a day. And I definitely don't have the space in my house to do this or the time to run back and forth to the post office to ship stuff off. And the truth is, that's not where my skill would lie within this company. My skill is in the creative side and wanting to create more designs and create better products and find blanks and work with a designer and create videos. And if I've got to spend so many hours a day shipping things, I'm not doing this. I'm not creating and I'm not scratching that itch as the whole reason I created the company. So luckily from day one, we were able to, take less profit because someone else was going to handle fulfillment and someone else was going to handle manufacturing of the goods. That aided a ton and opened things up for me. And the way I looked at that is we can take less profit because look, apparel is a quantity game anyway, and unless you're going to move a lot of it, you're never going to make a lot of money. So what I was able to do was I built the business so the stress level for me on a daily basis didn't change. Whether we moved 5 items or we moved 50 items, none of that matters for me. All that gets handled by my fulfillment team at the warehouse. And that warehouse is in Kansas. I've actually never been there, which is really strange, but the guy running it is fucking awesome. If you have an apparel company and would like to talk about my guy helping you with some of that, just reach out and contact me. There's been huge learning moments. We have over-ordered stuff that didn't sell. We've created stuff that we thought would sell that didn't sell. We've also under-ordered a ton of stuff that we were like, this will do all right. And then it fucking took off. And so then you're trying to figure out fulfillment. One of the weird ones we had happen was Joe Rogan Day. And this was November 2nd, 2015, which is really funny that I know that date. But what happened is we've got our probably most popular item that we've sold, our Kick Today in the Dick mug. And this was something we put out and we're like, we'll fucking make 150 of them and we'll see how they go. At that time, I was working with Caveman Coffee and Joe Rogan reposted a picture to Instagram of a bag of Caveman Coffee and my mug, and I'm tagged in it and the company is tagged in it. Then you gotta figure this reaches 2 probably million people because it went to his Facebook page, it went to his Twitter, and went to his Instagram. This reaches a shitload of eyes. And so we went from selling, we figured we'd sell like 100 of those mugs that first week and then they would kind of trickle off. And we ended up selling like 170 of them the day Joe posted it. Now, we didn't have the quantity in stock for that, and that's a risk that we were willing to try to roll the dice on. I did not think that these customers would be coming back to the site to buy this mug post this initial spontaneous grab. And of that many people, we're still talking about a tiny percentage of people who saw it to people who decided to buy it that day. We sent emails and apologized that it was going to be taking a wait. We didn't expect to have Joe post this thing and change the number of stuff, have this many orders. We weren't prepared for it, and please bear with us. And so we got more in and shipped those out. And I think we had maybe 2 or 3 people that decided to cancel their order, and we refunded them and apologized and sent them a discount code for something else. The way I looked at this was trying to be smart and decide that these aren't really hardcore customers of mine. And these are spontaneous purchases based on something Rogan put on Instagram, which really shows the power of someone with that many followers. And that was a big change. That was a lot of eyes on our stuff. Finally making the move from a regular website over to our Shopify platform that we're on now eliminated a ton of headache and a ton of hassle for us. The other stuff that we did way down the road was finally incorporate the business the right way, get an accountant, and do all these things. I think these are big items that people get hung up on day one. And instead of just fucking try to get something going and selling and get that ball rolling before you worry and stress yourself out over, is this an LLC? Do we need to file? How do we do this? How do we do this? All that shit can be handled on the back end. Number 2, if for some reason you fuck something up and you owe someone money, they'll find you. I promise. And then you can sort it out then. But get going. Like, don't just sit and wait if it's something you want to do. Stop talking about it and stop thinking on it and being stressed about step 236 when you can just take the next step. One of the things I really thought about a lot was I talked to Bart Kwan a couple years ago with Drift to Lifta, and the thing that he brought up was when they wanted to open a gym, they didn't know anything about owning a brick and mortar business. And so what they did was he and Gio just agreed, we'll take the next step toward doing this and just go until we run into something we can't cross. And they just never did. And so that's kind of how Mike and I have looked at a lot of stuff. It's like, well, there's got to be a way to do this. What's the next step? Let's not get caught up in all the details and the bullshit. Let's just figure out step 2. And then once step 2 is done, figure out step 3. Not worry about what step 100 is going to be down the road for an if scenario. And that's really what's brought us today. And Hate Brand has been an awesome thing for me and a life-changing home business that I've been able to run. And I still get to travel, I still get to film, I still get to do the Drift to Lifta series, I still get to be around my friends all over the country, and I still get to travel and compete once I'm healthy. I've been very, very fortunate, and very fortunate to work with awesome people, and that's Mark, that's Chrissy, that's Kelly, that's these other people that have pushed the brand that I owe tremendous amounts to. And so on that note, I hope that helps explain how the journey of us creating Hate Brand has got where we are today, and hope that helps anyone out there aspiring to do their thing. I think just run and do it, man. I think get started, take the next step. Personally, I was able to do it under the safety of while having a real job. And so you learn to balance those things. You sacrifice in other places. Like I said before, like you just don't sleep as much, or, when you're off of work, you figure out this, and this. And then you have, part of that was me having a partner and me being able to rely on our fulfillment guys. I took a lot of advice from those people, and that's, helping finding blanks and helping finding the right stuff that we want to print on and where to get stuff manufactured and what can and can't we do. But all the while, it's just got to be consistent effort. So there's going to be ups and downs and good times and bad. I think of some of the months in 2015 where we did 2,500 in gross sales, which isn't great. So there was a lot of months, you figure, even through 2015, that Mike and I didn't take home any pay for this. We really didn't start taking home what I would call a paycheck of any type of size until March of last year, which is kind of scary to think. And so from that point on, we've been able to try to be adults and actually pay ourselves a salary and then work within the company to keep growing the company. So that's where we are. So I hope that gives a little background to my small business. I'm really proud of it and want to keep growing it. I hope you guys like it. It seems you do. And as always, spread hate, always party.